Well, Gary, we're here to launch the Gary Player Invitational here in Abu Dhabi. Tell us a little bit more about the event you're bringing here to the region.
Well, first of all, we as a company and a group are very fond and have great love for Abu Dhabi, having visited here on many, many occasions. And I think it's one of the great secrets of the world. I mean, now with the Louvre and the Guggenheim and the golf courses and the car racing and the beaches and the desert, you have so much to offer. And in fact, I went through a tour of the mosque, which I still tell everybody is the greatest bit of architecture that I've seen in my 80 years. This event, the Gary Player Invitational, has taken place in the United States, in South Africa, where it basically started, in Europe and in China. So we are delighted to bring it to Abu Dhabi now, where we can raise money for charity. And so far at this stage we've raised $60 million around the world. Our great dream is to raise $100 million, and with the theme basically of changing people's lives. And this has been very exciting for me, because having had a very difficult youth, growing up under very difficult circumstances, I always vowed, I never funny enough said when or if, I just said I will be a champion one day, and I'll be able to help people. And that's one of the greatest thrills. Yes, it's very nice to have won all these tournaments around the world, but I think it is a greater thrill when you can take somebody who has nothing in life and see them thrive and have a place in the sun. So to come to Abu Dhabi and to have this event here, very exciting, particularly on a golf course that we designed, Saadiyat Beach, which is really a magnificent golf course. And one day, and tourism, as we all know, is vitally important to every country. And one day when they have their golf event on Saadiyat Beach and people around the world see this golf course right on the ocean, I'm very surprised they haven't had the event on this golf course as of now, because this will really make a vast difference to tourism. People sitting in their homes around the world seeing this wonderful golf course on the ocean is going to give them thought or food for thought to travel. People travel all over the world to play a golf course.
And of course, Gary, health is at the core of what you're trying to do here. Just tell us a little bit more. I mean, you must be probably the fittest elderly gentleman I know, certainly in and around the world.
How about the youngest?
And the youngest as well. You probably put me to shame as well, Gary, but just tell us...
I'd beat you.
I'm sure you would. I have no doubt about that. Just tell us a little bit more about the healthy aspect of living.
Well, first of all, the world has a massive problem at the moment with diabetes. Diabetes right here, where we're sitting today with the youth, is very prevalent. It's growing at a rapid rate. I think diabetes is, we all know that the heart and cancer are number one and number two, but diabetes is catching them up. America, for example, will have 100 million diabetics in 30, 40 years' time, unless there's something better than insulin. So people in the world are not exercising. They don't really worry about health. And I don't know how you survive and be productive without health. So governments now have got to start getting their populations to take an interest in schools. We've got to be teaching them in schools. Don't rely on parents to do it, because parents don't know anything about it. So we've got to get schools, and we've got to have charities, and we've got to have top athletes talking about it to give them a place in the sun, because there's nothing worse than when you're not healthy. Health is still the greatest asset that one can have. So I do a lot of talking about this around the world, and I must say I'm 80 years of age, and I feel like I'm 50. I've traveled more miles than any human being ever, and continue to travel a lot. And really, my life is not conducive to good health, traveling and living in an aeroplane and airports. But the fact that I've stayed in shape is a tremendous asset. And if I could, my dream is to get this across to the youth of the world.
Now, one of the biggest pulls of this event is that people can come and obviously play golf with yourself. First of all, can you give us an indication of who else might be joining you at the Gary Player Invitational in February? And how much do you actually enjoy being out there and being part of an event like this?
Well, first of all, I love being part of the event, and particularly I can't tell you how excited we are to have this event in Abu Dhabi, because without being repetitive, I just love this part of the world. I think this place has got so much to offer, and for us to bring in top professionals and top businessmen and help this country in our small way is going to be a big thrill for me. At this stage, you know, it's a long way off. We can't tell you who we have coming at this stage right now. It's a bit early.
Gary, you've already talked about the importance of health. If we look at the modern day golf right now, the players are fitter than ever, they're healthier than ever. What impact do you think that is having on the game of golf throughout the world?
Well, first of all, golf is probably the most televised sport of all sports. If you look, there's a tournament almost every week somewhere in the world. And for young people to see, of course there are some golfers that are not good examples of health, but that applies in every field, in every walk of life. But the majority of golfers are in very good condition now. Unlike when I was a young man, there were two of us going to the gym and lifting weights, and we were condemned and criticized about it. And yet all the others, somebody said, you know, Gary, you don't have to go to the gym anymore. You just be a pallbearer and carry all your dead friends to the grave, and you'll get plenty of exercise. In fact, most of my friends are dead, or they haven't seen their knees in the last 6 years. We won't tell you the other things they haven't seen. But no, I can't put enough stress on this. And also academically, if children, and we found this in South Africa, whereby we, through a charity, the charitable organization was able to buy bicycles. And the children who were walking to school for an hour and walking back, now that they had bicycles, their grades improved. And isn't education the light for the world? I mean, isn't that something that we should be striving for? And so this will help their education to a great degree if they're fit, and help them to be productive for the world. I don't think we must look upon countries too much as individual countries. Now we've got to look upon it as a global society, and that's what we like to consider ourselves, is a global society. I mean, we've raised in China probably 60 million RMB for aged children, changed their lives, built a home for them. In South Africa, we've made a massive difference. President Mandela and I raised a lot of money for underprivileged young black children in South Africa. And then we go into the United States and we do something there. And in Europe, for homeless people. In London, for homeless people. And I visited this home, and it's quite sad to think that in a sophisticated place like London, there are so many homeless. So it's a wonderful thing, and golf has raised twice as much money as any other sport for charity. In America, they'll soon be working on their the Professional Golfers Association, $3 billion. So it's fantastic that you can be associated with a sport where at 80 you can compete, and compete in a good manner still. I can still average 70 at my age. So to be able to play with all these wonderful people, and I just love people. So people from all over the world. I mean, wherever I go, I mean, having breakfast this morning, 2 gentlemen from Malaysia. I'm on the aeroplane and there's a man from China. And then you're in an airport in India or somewhere, and people are coming up to you and giving you this incredible love. I mean, what a wonderful situation to be in your life.
You're clearly an inspiration still now that you're no longer playing golf professionally, but you know, you've been an inspiration to so many of the golfers that we now watch in the current era. Who do you enjoy watching out of the current crop of players that we see on tour just now?
Jason Day, I've been saying for years, has the best swing, and so does Rory McIlroy. Jason Day and Rory McIlroy have the best swings, but Jordan Spieth is the best putter, and the best putter is the man that usually wins. Everybody puts such emphasis on long hitting. Long hitting is, I think, the most overrated thing in golf. The thing that counts is how you putt, how your mind works. And the encouraging thing is that you've got 3 young men like this, plus a host of others that are really raising the bar with good manners and fitness and behaving well and playing well for the youth to follow. So golf is a very healthy situation at the moment.
Gary, you mentioned there good manners. One man who probably has the better manners than anyone is Jordan Spieth right now.
Oh,
just how good do you think he can be? Because at 22, he's already won 2 majors, he's enjoyed an incredible year, but can he be one of the best of all time?
Yes, any one of those 3 can. I'd like to see McIlroy play more. He seems to, in my opinion, my humble opinion, everybody's got their own way of doing things. But just looking on the side, I'm a great believer that you've got to compete. You've got to keep competing to stay sharp. So I'd like to see him compete a little more than he had. Of course, he did have an unfortunate accident playing soccer. But why not? I mean, when I was a young man in my prime, I did horse riding, I used a power saw, I was working, mixing cement and doing all kinds of things on my farm. You can't just play golf only. So everybody criticized him unfairly. But these 3 young men are wonderful young men, as I say, plus a host of others. But let me tell you the difference. When I was a young man, I had to go to the YMCA, and in those days, it was a little bit smelly, because there were so many people in there, congested, wait 20 minutes to use a piece of equipment. Now you go, they have a traveling gymnasium with a skin specialist, a psychiatrist, or a psychologist, and monsieur, you have everything you need. I mean, it's a different world. Traveling gymnasium with all the facilities. Every hotel you go to now has a gym. It wasn't like that in our time. It's a very different world. So we are progressing.
Do you feel one of those 3 you've just mentioned, Day, McIlroy or Spieth, has the potential to go on to be the greatest ever?
Oh, they have the potential. Will they do that? The odds are stacked against them. To say that any one individual will turn out to be the greatest ever, you can bet, the odds that it won't happen. It's like saying, will a racehorse win the Triple Crown? He has the potential, but will he do it? But they have the potential. And I hope one of them do. I mean, because I'm always a great believer in competition and making things better. But for one of those to go ahead and win, more than 18 major championships, that's a monumental task. Monumental, but the potential is right there.
One man who, well, is up there as the greatest of all time is Tiger Woods, now ranked 299 in the world, Gary. When you look at his golf game now, where do you think he has gone wrong in recent years?
Really, it's not for me to be judgmental. I think people today are too critical and too quick to give an opinion on other people's lives and things. But it's been a combination of things with Tiger. Unfortunately, getting divorced, that's always a tough thing for a golfer. I know with Jack Nicklaus and Palmer and myself, we were known as the Big 3. But our wives were the Big 3. Really. Never complained about leaving, raised my wife 6 children, traveled around the world, no jets, 40 hours to America, 40 hours to Australia, traveling. Where are you going to get a wife like that today? Very, very difficult, very difficult. So the wives played a vital role. I don't know, it's a very difficult thing to say. And then getting divorced obviously is a detrimental thing. Some of the things he did, which people were very judgmental on, also hurt him. And then having injuries, 3 knee operations, back operations. When your body starts to go, and a lot of people have all said, he exercises too much. How do you exercise too much? That's like saying you have too much education. It's just nonsense. So the exercises prevented him from having more accidents or more operations, there's no question. I mean, the fact that I've exercised so profusely has stood me in good stead not to have operations. So he just has the kind of body, with that massive speed and massive power, it's hurt his body. And unfortunately, when you have operations and your body starts to crumble, you got a tough time. And then he got the yips. That is the most significant thing. You can get away with having a divorce. You can get away with all kinds of problems because one's mind can be very strong and get over those things. But when you get the yips, you are in serious trouble. And there was a man called Henry Longhurst who used to do the commentary for the BBC. He was brilliant, and he said, when you get the yips, you die with the yips. And so when you get the yips in golf, basically you've got a massive, you basically your career's at an end.
Well, that was my next question. Do you feel that he can come back? He's out at the moment recovering from his latest bout of surgery. And do you feel that golf needs Tiger to come back, or is the game well enough equipped with the players we were talking about earlier?
Fortunately, golf has never relied on one person in the history of golf to make it a success. Some of the newspapers have inclined that way to think so, but it's not so. Tiger Woods, there's no question, nobody can play as well today as Tiger played at his prime, yet they are still coming up. And but Tiger Woods is still the most talented golfer the world has ever seen. Will he come back? Compared to what? To where he was? No, I don't think so. Do I want him to come back? Yes, we need Tiger Woods very badly. When he plays in a tournament, there are more tickets sold, the sponsors are happy, the gallery's excited. We really need for him to come back. But will he ever come back to where he was? I don't think he'll ever come back to the Tiger Woods of his prime. He could come back to a Tiger Woods where he'll win a major or he'll win some tournaments. But I can't see him being the Tiger Woods he was in his prime.
Final question from me, Gary. You've already mentioned you're 80 years of age. You mentioned you still train. Just give, for our viewers and for our listeners, an idea of your type of training regime that you do on a daily basis.
Well, I try and do 1,300 crunches and sit-ups of different kinds. I still pushed, 2 days ago, I pushed 400 pounds with my legs, run on the treadmill at a maximum of 16, do push-ups. I do every part of my body. But the most important thing is how you eat. I met a man in India a long time ago, Mr. Singh, and he basically said for longevity, you've got to be happy. You've got to have love in your heart because it gives you peace. You've got to exercise, and you've got to have education. And he said, the most important thing, the less you eat, the longer you live. And so what I've been doing I would say the last year, unless I go out for dinner, like last night I had no dinner. If you take this last week, I've only eaten dinner 4 nights. 3 nights I had no dinner. The night I have no dinner is when I feel my best the next day. Everybody overeats. They don't eat when they're hungry, they just eat because it's time to eat. Everybody's getting fat. When you get fat, you get diabetes, you get heart attacks, you get cancer. And this is what I come back to the schools have got to put emphasis on this.
We can't let you go, Gary, by just asking you about your own career, as magnificent as it was. And of course, you've achieved so much in your 80 years. Do you look back on your life feeling rather satisfied with what you've done, or is there anything at all that you would change?
No, nothing I would change. Had I lived in America, and I was offered a lot of money to live in America, had I done that, my record would have been better, because I spent my whole life traveling back and forth. I never even played in some of the major championships in my life. But I wanted to have the best world record that's around the world. And I do in golf. I have the best world record, and which is very satisfactory. And to win 18 majors, 9 on both tours, 165 tournaments, and still being able to play. In fact, Nicholas and I played as partners in 3 tournaments this year. We finished first, and second. And ironically, when I won the Masters 3 times, I won $20,000, $20,000, $40,000. We played in an event, we finished second, and they came and gave me a check at 80 years of age for $35,000. That can only happen in golf. And I tell young people, and this is a very significant thing that I'm going to say now. I tell my friends, don't let your children play rugby. Now, rugby in our country is a religion. And there's no sport I enjoy watching more than rugby. But the young people of the world, unfortunately, are looking at these rugby players and the athletes of today. And they're all athletes, or a large majority, 80, 90% of athletes, men and women, are either on steroids, growth hormones, or something. and you look at these people, they're not normal. They're not normal people. If you go back in time and watch rugby or any other sports, you see the athletes are being barred from the Olympic Games, taking steroids. You see the Tour de France is a joke. You see what's happening in all the sports today, and young people are looking at these people thinking that's the natural thing to do to build their bodies like that. These people are going to suffer so badly that are taking steroids or any of this junk that they're putting in their bodies. As they get older, they'll have kidney, they'll have liver, they'll have cancer, they'll have all kinds of problems. They're going to suffer like a junkyard dog. So my advice to young people, stay away from all this stuff. The only problem is, how do you compete today in the world when somebody's taking this stuff, whatever the stuff may be, and you not? That's the sad thing, and that's what I'm so proud about golf and tennis, two very clean sports, although some people have taken it.
Well, we could sit and talk to you all day, but we don't have time. So we thank you very much for joining us.
Okay.
Thank you, Gary. Absolute pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Tune in every weeknight on Dubai Eye 103.8 for Sports Tonight between 7 to 9 p.m.